Hi everyone, welcome to episode 135 of the arieknits podcast. My name is Ariel and this is a video podcast where I talk about all the things that I have been knitting and spinning on for the past week. This past week I got a lot of knitting done, and so I have a finished object, I have an almost finished object, I made a lot of progress. I picked back up one of my knitting projects that I haven't talked about in quite a bit, and I have a new spin on my wheel, and yeah, let's get right into it. First up with what I am wearing today. I wore this all today, and so it got a good test run for me today. This is the Freddie Pullover by Chen. The yarn I use is Explore Knits Rockies DK in the colorway Fantasy, and I knit size 1, and I used US 4 needles, 3.5 millimeter needles to knit this, and that's the needle size for like the main part. I think, is it maybe a different needle size for the ribbing? I think it might be, but that's US 4, 3.5 millimeters. The, oh my gosh, my words are not coming to me today. It is the needle size I use for the main parts of this. Okay, and final measurements, I got 38 inches in circumference, and so that is about 8 inches of positive ease on me, and that is it did hit the circumference that it states in the pattern for the size, and so that's really nice. That means I was pretty much on gauge. This did, I remember, I think I showed it to you all last week. This was before I washed and blocked it finally, and so it is washed and blocked as I'm wearing it right now. Last time I showed it to you all, it was not, and so it did look very skinny and small, but now that the stitches, the kind of like ribbed stitches on here are nice and relaxed, and so everything has a bit more ease in it. It's not like hugging my arm really tight, but it's not like super loose and baggy, as you can see, and I will stand up, I guess I'll stand up right now to show it to you all. I know that this color is pretty dark, and so I'm hoping that the lighting I have is going to pick up the really nice stitch here. I am wearing a black tank top under this. So here's the nice cable detail here, and there's a whole bunch of different width of ribbing and also some slip stitch detail going on. Here you can see the v-neck, yeah, oh my gosh, the v-neck ribbing there, it does cross over or overlap right at the where it touches, which I really like that detail. Here is the I'll kind of turn to see the back. This is the folded over double knit collar band, and you can see it does not, this is done on purpose, it does not get picked up right on this ribbing here, so there is that little piece that sticks out there. Here's the length of the sleeve. It's really nice. The ribbing detail is at the top of this sleeve right there, and so that's really nice. Same for here, and it's a nice length. It's not cropped at all. My belly button is right here, and the ribbing doesn't start until even below that, and so this is a really nice length for me to wear, and this is what it looks like. Yay! It is a different color than I usually wear or make for my knit sweaters, and so it does feel a bit different. It looks a bit different on me, or like what I'm used to seeing when I wear knit sweaters. But I really like it. I think it's really nice. Wearing it all today was very comfortable. And yeah, it's been nice. I think the only thing is today it was kind of cold outside, and I was outside for a bit longer than I usually am, and so my neck area was a bit cold, but that's just because it's a v-neck, and so it's nothing against the pattern. That's just, I was just a little cold, so but I am again wearing a tank top under this because the v-neck is a bit low for me, but that's how I would wear this sweater anyway, with a shirt under it. Actually, usually I do wear my knit sweaters with like at least a tank top under it. Sometimes if I'm like really cold, then I'll wear like a tighter fitting long sleeve under my sweaters, but you know, that's just depends on the situation and what's happening. But I think it's really nice, And I was kind of a little worried about the sleeves being, I feel like if you watch me for a bit, you'll kind of know that I always talk about the sleeve, the wrist circumference being, like, I don't like it being too big. Like, I kind of like it to be quite snug so that when I, if I have to roll up my sleeves, I don't want it to just, like, fall down really easily. For these sleeves, they are made so that, obviously, I could have made it where it's tighter, but I kind of feel like for this vibe of the sweater, it just works better for the wrist to be kind of more straight with the sleeve and not really, you know, hugging my wrist. So I like how it looks. But I think what's really nice about it is it didn't bother me at all today, and I think it helps because the sleeve length is not as long as some of my other sweaters. So I feel like if it's got a bigger wrist circumference, then I need it to stop right at my wrist, basically, and then it doesn't feel like it gets in the way. So that's been really nice. I feel like all of the blocking on this made it turn out perfect, and so I'm really happy with that. And yeah, that's the Freddie pullover, and it is my 8th knit garment on my Make 9 for this year. And so I'm almost there. Almost done with my Make 9, but yeah, so this is project 8 out of the Make 9 for this year. And I'm really happy I finally made this pullover. I had the pattern for quite a bit of time, and so I'm really happy to have it. I think it's really cute. I love the yarn that I used for it, and I'm going to keep on wearing it. Okay, let's move on to my one finished object for this week. I'm actually shocked that this is a finished object for this week. You guys might be too. It is not washed and blocked. That is the one thing, but I'm calling it finished because I finished knitting it and the ends are woven in. This is my Moonset Polo by Ozetta. Yes, I have finished this. I really, the urgency I felt to finish it as soon as possible because I was worried about running out of yarn really got me going on it this week. Yarn I used for this is Exploreknits Rockies DK in the colorway Lavendula, and I held that with 2 strands of Big Little Yarn Co. Suri Silk Lace in the colorway Nurikabe. It's just, I really can't believe I finished this, so I'm gonna hold it up now. This thing is like pretty heavy and bulky. Okay, just trying to get it. It's really funny because it's another, it looks similar style sweater to what I'm wearing right now. But here it is. It's fully done. Yes, it does have a folded collar V-neck type of situation going on. Okay. I knit size extra small. I forgot to say the sizing. Knit size extra small, and I used US 9 needles to work on this. Okay. Let's start off with just what I did this week. I was really nervous, and I told you guys my plan on what I was going to do to make sure that I don't run out of yarn, or I make sure I conserve in the right places. So once I was done, I think I was like still attached maybe to part of the body. And I was like, once I'm done with the Suri on that, I'm going to work on the sleeves. And so I finished both sleeves. And okay, I did make a modification on the sleeves, and I think that this really helped me in conserving yarn. My gauge is kind of big. I made a gauge swatch, and it was fine. It actually, I think, was like perfectly on gauge. However, when I started knitting this, I guess my gauge got a little big. So when I calculated what my my row gauge was, I was getting, it was larger. And so for the sleeves, they do look pretty short if you look at it here. For the sleeves, I decreased the rate, so the rate of the decreases for the sleeve to get to the cuff, to the wrist, I just did it closer together than the pattern states. The pattern has how many rounds to do, before you decrease, or the rate at which you decrease. Oh my gosh, I'm like really struggling with my words today. And so I just made sure I just calculated what my gauge was, figured out what length of sleeve I needed, and then just adjusted accordingly. And then, I mean, yeah, that's what I did. The sleeve looks short. However, because the body on this, where that drop shoulder is, like where it ends and the sleeve starts, it's super low on the shoulder, and so the sleeve length is actually, it's a tad short. Like the sleeve is not long, but I think with blocking it might just like get to around like my sleeve length that I have right now. But I think it's fine. It's gonna be great. Okay, and then after I finished the sleeves, before I went back to the body, I knit the collar for this, and I didn't realize, but makes sense, that unlike the Freddie pullover, which I'm wearing, this is a double knit collar, whereas this one is a 1x1 rib collar, which was great for me because I was like, double knit's going to take a ton of yarn. But what I did for this was, because I could not figure out, I just couldn't gauge. I'm trying to hold this up so you can see the full, how much was knit on this. Could not gauge how much yarn this would use. My main concern, again, for running out of yarn was on my Suri. So I just decided to knit this with one strand of Suri instead of two. And so it was the one strand of DK and one strand of Suri. And honestly, I think I don't think I can really tell the difference. I mean, maybe, if you like hold the ribbing that I did with the two strands of Suri with this, you could tell it's just a little bit thinner. But I think as far as like as a whole, looking at it, it doesn't look like it's, I don't think you can tell that it's like any smaller or anything. I didn't change my needle size, and I think it looks great. And so I went with that, and so that helped me save some Suri to continue on with the body. And then I do have my stitch marker here for how much more of the body I knit. And so I was actually able to knit this much more in stockinette on the body, which got me to actually like, I think the pattern says to knit 8.75 inches of body from the underarm. And I actually got to 9 inches before I start the 3 inches of ribbing, 1x1 rib. And I was great. I actually do have like 10 more grams of Suri left. So I think I could have actually used 2 strands of Suri for the collar, but I am happy that I was not scrambling as hard towards the end to finish the sweater. Again, I think what really helped was making the sleeves shorter than what would have happened if I followed the decrease rate. So I think the sleeves are shorter just overall, but I think after blocking, even before blocking, they're not like really short sleeves. They're a fine length of sleeve. And so I think that helped. Definitely think knitting this with one strand of Suri helped too, and so that I wouldn't run out for the body on this. And so it worked out. Did I panic? Maybe. I feel a little bit like, oh, maybe I had no reason to panic over running out of Suri. Thank you to those of you who reached out to me with suggestions for how to make sure I don't run out of Suri. So thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate it. I hope I didn't make you all nervous or feel like I was panicking too much. But I just had to know. Whenever there's something like this, project-wise for me, where I'm just even a little bit worried, that just makes me work on the project a lot faster. And as you can tell, I finished this entire sweater this past week, which was 2 sleeves, the collar, and then the rest of the body. I'm very happy that it's done. I do need to wash and block it, but I think that this is going to be, I'm like kind of cold. I'm cold right now. And I usually don't get that cold when I'm wearing like a knit sweater, especially like this is a DK weight sweater. And so this is feels pretty hefty, and I think it's gonna be really warm. I would definitely wear this as something like, I would wear this over something. Part of it is because the v-neck is a little bit low for me to not wear anything else under it, but this is going to be really nice and cozy. And it's quite oversized too, and so I think wearing this over even like a long sleeve would be really nice and cozy. Keep me super warm, especially in my office where it's very, very cold nowadays. But yeah, I'm done. I actually thought I would finish this next year, like in 2026. But no, I finished it in November of this year. This is a very quick knit, but also this did knit up quickly because it's I think it's like a worsted weight pattern, and so unlike the fingering weight things I've been working on, this did knit up quite quickly, and so was in that way like enjoyable to knit on as well. Enjoyable with slight panic. There are some parts of this where you can see I usually do not alternate my skeins with color, and so you can tell in this where there was only one skein of the Suri, and I had 4 total. I had 4 skeins of Suri total and 4 skeins of the DK. One of the Suri skeins was way more pink than the others, and that is the first one that I started with. And so you can see here, like this front left side just looks way less blue, just has less blue in it. And it actually, I think having more pink in it actually makes it look a lot more fluffy in person. I think on the camera you can't see that, but it almost looks like there's just more fluff, but I think it's because of the pink. But in contrast, like the sleeve, next to the sleeve, like the sleeve is way more blue, but on this side, because these skeins just all had more blue. In the Suri, it's not that drastic of like a difference between the front and the sleeve, but it doesn't bother me enough to want to go and fix that or change it or anything. Here's the back. You can tell because the more pink skein was the one I started with. Up here is more pink versus the bottom. But it doesn't bother me. It's something I notice, yes, but I'm gonna wear it anyway and be happy and comfortable in it. But yeah, so here it is. Need a wash and block, and then you'll probably see me wear it. If not next week's episode, then the one after that. I think that's what I'm gonna do, because I am foreseeing finishing something before next week's episode, and I would like to do that next week. Anyway, okay, so this is my finished object, although not fully finished because I need a wash and block, but it's kind of been what I've been doing lately. But yay, it's done. It looks very cute. It's very floppy because the yarn combination I use is not very rustic or structured yarn, but it's gonna be great, and it's gonna be super nice to wear when it gets really cold. It is a very thick fabric, so can't wear it when it's like, I mean, you could wear it if it's warm, but then you might get too hot. Anyway, let's move on to my whips. Okay, I'm very excited about this one, and this is a project that I think I'm gonna finish it this coming week and then wear it in next week's video. I think, depends how I'm feeling, but that's my plan. This one is so close to being done. This is my Redmond hoodie by Hanna Maciejewska, and yarn is Woolfolk Tynd color 0, which is white, and I knit size 1, and I used US 3 needles, 3.25 millimeter needles to knit this. I did size up on my needles just to meet gauge, and yeah, the yarn was gifted to me to specifically make this pattern, but it was a pattern I was eyeing, yarn and pattern that I was eyeing during flock, this most recent flock this year. And so it was something I wanted to make. Anyway, okay. I'm going to hold up what I have. It is still squished a bit on my needles, but the body is almost done. Almost done. Let me find my stitch marker. Here it is. Okay, here's my stitch marker. So I worked quite a bit on it this week. I'm very proud of this progress. This is a fingering weight yarn, and so I'm proud. This is how much I got done. So I worked maybe like a couple inches more in stockinette. I hope that you can see it. I know the yarn's white here. Couple inches more in stockinette in the round on the body, and then I started on the hem, and the hem section of this is pretty long. It is, I think this is supposed to be about 4 inches. And so you can see here it has a very similar detail, which I love, which is on the sleeve cuff here, but it is slightly different. So, oh my gosh, sorry, I'm moving this around too much. Okay, so you can see, start off, it's a 1x1 rib for a little bit, and then some pearl only rows, and then you continue on with just a 1x1 rib. And then all I have to do actually right now, I'm not even attached to a ball. I already cut my yarn, but I need to just do a tubular cast off now. And then this is done. This whole entire project, this hoodie is done, and then I can wear it and live in it and sleep in it and be extremely comfortable in it. Okay, I did want to note, it is slightly different than the sleeve, which, I wonder why not just make it exactly like the sleeve, because on the sleeve, on the sleeve, I hope it can focus, it does have a whole bunch of 1x1 rib and then the pearl rounds, but before it, it's actually a 3x1 rib at the top here, not a 1x1 rib for this little section. So I wonder why not do the exact same thing for the body hem, but I just followed the pattern. I think it still looks great, so, you know, but it's just something that I noticed that I want to share with you all. And yeah, so I finished working on the body on this. I will be doing a more in-depth kind of review of this hoodie probably in next week's video, and so I don't want to spend too much time talking about it in this week's video, because I'm going to go over a lot more in depth about it next week's video, kind of have it as kind of like a highlight project for my podcast episode. But I mean, I did want to show it to you all. I am so close to being done. I also did thread the I-cord through the hood, which worked out really nice. But yeah, I'll talk more about it next week. Here it is, almost done. It's so soft. It's so soft. I cannot wait to finish it and to wear it. So that's my Redmond hoodie. Okay, let's move on to my, sorry, I have to pull up my project bag here. Okay, my Fleur Tee by Woolbird. I know this one will be a quick update because I've talked about this for many weeks now. It's different yarn, different size, different, but this is my third one. Fleur Tee by Woolbird. Yarn I'm using is Sewrella Cotton Linen Wool in the colorway Daunt books. And I am knitting size 2, and I'm using US 1.5 needles, which is 2.5 millimeter needles to knit this. It's the same needle size, same yarn, just different color than my first two versions of this. This one is going to be for my sister, and so I want it to be part of her Christmas present, so really got to get going on this. It is a fingering weight tee, so there's a lot of knitting to do. I'm also very proud working on this week and the amount of progress I got done. So here's you can see my stitch marker right here at the corner. This is how much I had last week, and so I was like, oh, I have to at least knit the same amount that I knit last week. But then I was like, I need to actually knit a ton more than that. And so I got more done. Still got a lot more to do to finish the body. Also, my sister wants it to be an inch longer than mine. And I also knit myself a size 2, and so it's going to be a little bit more body to get done than when I knit mine, but it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And it's working out fine. Again, I've memorized the stitch pattern, and so working on this I don't have to bring out my pattern and look at the chart to work on this, and so it works up in a way quick because I, again, don't have to look at a chart. However, now that this is my third one, that I'm knitting, and I've knit them basically back to back and kind of I can't take my time on them. I have to make sure I spend time on it. This time around, because the one right before this was a size 4 and now it's a size 2, I was hoping that working in the rounds on this would feel significantly shorter or faster. It is, right? It has to be because it's less stitches, but it doesn't feel that way. Honestly, I think that it's a little bit hard for me to work on this. Yeah, it's just knitting 3 of these back to back is might be my limit on knitting the same thing. Although, you know, like last year I knit the Stella Quilt cushions, right? And those were pretty much back to back, and that was kind of the same thing. But I don't know, this one's maybe because it's fingering weight project, you know, and it's not that I like the pattern. The stitch is very pretty and the yarn is great to work with. It just is kind of a lot of the same. And so I'm getting a little bored. So this past week I really had to like force myself to work on it. That sounds so bad, but yeah, it's just because I have so many other exciting projects and things I want to cast on, that now it's starting to feel a little boring, but I'm gonna push through because I really, really, really want to have this done so that me, my mom, and my sister can get a cute group picture with all 3 of us wearing the Fleur Tees. And that was my idea for it anyway when I bought the yarn and the pattern. But yeah, so I gotta keep going. I just gotta tell myself I can do it. Keep working on it, and it'll be great. I'll be very happy with the end result. It's just I have so many other projects that I want to work on right now that it's a little hard to feel motivated for knitting this for a 3rd time, I think. But that's a me problem. Okay, and then I want to talk about next this was another thing. I was like, I need to work on this quickly. Sorry, I'm trying to reach in my bag here. Okay, this is my November socks. I know we're about like halfway through November, and so I was like, I want to be on track with my socks. I'm almost at the end of the year, so I just need to keep pushing, finish the socks in the month. I've been pretty good timing wise for each of the month's socks, but because now we're mid-November, I was like, I have to finish the first sock. I had very little done last week for the sock, but I pushed through and also finished the first sock and started the second one. I'm knitting the Hello Sailor sock set by Summer Lee. I'm doing the broken rib sock pattern in that sock set pattern. The yarn I'm using is Zeezee Textiles Classic Fingering in the colorway Tapestry, and oh, it's so pretty. And I'm knitting size small, and I'm using US 1 needles, 2.25 millimeter needles to knit this. Okay, hold up sock time. Ooh, the yarn color is so pretty. I'm going to try and focus the camera on the sock. Oh, it is so pretty. It's so pretty. Perfect for November socks. It is worked cuff down, heel flap and gusset. And I made one adjustment to this. Let me first, show you. The yarn colorway is very variegated, and so I think, in person, the broken rib shows up a bit more. I think on camera it might be a little difficult. Actually, no, I think you can see it there. I think it looks nice in the broken rib. Of course, in a more tonal color, the broken rib also looks really nice and probably easier to see, but I think in a variegated it works really nicely. But yeah, so that's the sock. Okay. The one adjustment I made to this is that I feel like in some of my previous socks, I decided to, I think I've probably talked about this before. I've been trying to figure out what sock size or stitch count works best for me. I started off knitting my socks with 60 stitch cast on, and that would sometimes work, sometimes not work, depends on like the stitch pattern. But I think I found in general something less than 60 stitches was really nice. Maybe like 56 or 58 was ideal. Sometimes though too tight. Again, it depends on the stitch. For this one, I feel like you can probably tell it kind of looks like it flares a bit right at the top, and I know that this is worked cuff down. But when I started this right at the top, I was like, ooh, it's kind of wide for 56 stitches. But I was like, at least for the leg part of this, it's fine, because if it's a little bit loose, it's not going to bother me as much as if the foot part was loose. And for this one, the bottom of the foot is stockinette, and so I knew that would help tighten it up a bit. And so I think you can kind of see that it is, I didn't change the stitch count on the foot versus the leg part, but because half of it's in stockinette, it did kind of like shrink a little bit this way, which is nice. And this actually fits me really nice. But one thing I did notice in my previous Summerly socks, maybe some of my other ones too, I felt like the gusset part, the decrease part, and kind of like where the heel is, and like just this part, just this entire heel part basically, felt a little small and tight and was fitting kind of weird. And I think that on my socks that was 60 stitches, like cast on, and whatever the, the heel flap like length was, I liked the fit of. And so what I ended up doing was, once I got to knitting I don't know in which direction I should hold this sock. I should probably hold it, not just like flopping it around and talking about it. I knit this heel flap to match the neck size up. And so it's slightly longer. And then I did the pickup rate along the heel flap to also match the size up. And then it just meant that but when I did the decreases to get back to, just knitting straight, I decreased all the way down to the same 56 stitches to work the rest of the foot. And that helped, I think. I think that this fits really, really nicely. And so I'm probably going to do that stitch count for this for my future socks. I know I'm like, my idea for the year of socks was like, I'm gonna keep knitting socks this year and figure out what works really best for my foot. And I think I did some experimenting, some kind of just like doing the same. But I am glad that even though it's November and the end of the year, like I'm still, finding things that are working better for me for my socks. And so I'm really happy about that and my discovery on that. And so I just have to make sure I do that exact same thing for my second sock. So I'm hoping that, I'm just hoping I don't forget that modification for the second side, because that would be hilarious, but also kind of sad, because then I would definitely rip that back to redo that. But yeah, so my first sock is done, and then I did cast on for the next one, and I just worked a little bit because I just need it to be on the needles so that I can pick it up a lot easier to work on whenever I decide to work on it this coming week. So that's my November socks, the Hello Sailor socks by Summerly. Okay, let's talk about this next project. This is the one that I have not talked about in a while. I think I cast it on, talked about it once, maybe twice, and then haven't talked about it in a while. But I picked back up my Comebackigan by Andrea Mowry. I am using Viking 5 & Co. Lofn Sport in the colorway Blood Oath, and I'm knitting size 2. I'm using US 5 needles, 3.75 millimeter needles to knit this. Okay, I'm gonna hold up. I got a skein of this so that we can talk about this yarn again because it's been a while. I got this yarn to make this cardigan at Flock this year. This is my first time using yarn from Viking Fiber Co. Really, really love this color. This base is a non-superwash, US grown, 90% RWS Shanico fine wool, 10% gray Romney. It is 370 yards for 100 grams, and it is a 3-ply. And it feels really nice and soft. And last time we talked about this, I knit one pocket, and what's really nice about it is it, kind of acts as a gauge swatch too, so that, you knit a gauge swatch, and if it works out nice, it's not like you just have a gauge swatch, it's your pocket. And I did wash and block it. One thing I realized, I don't think I measured it if I was on gauge, and actually I'm a little small. I'm a tad small, but I think that if I just block things just a little bit, it's not drastically smaller, just a little bit more, then I'll be on gauge. But we'll see how it goes. But I knit one pocket the last time. So this actually all happened yesterday and today. I knit the second pocket. And I'm curious to see if you'll be able to tell on camera. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking no. Maybe if I hold it closer and I focus on it, can you tell? I can tell the difference between which one is washed and block. And it's not just because one is curling up and the other's more flat, but the color almost looks different. And I'm unsure if I'm crazy, but the washed one looks, I don't actually, in this lighting right now, it's not that great. It's hard to see, but the color looked kind of different. And I was like, this is so weird because I'm knitting from the same skein. I didn't switch skeins. I'm knitting from the exact same skein. The color looked a little different, but also, and maybe this is what it is, because the way that the stitch pattern is, it creates shadows on it, and so maybe that's it. But the one, I think washing and blocking, okay, I'm looking at it right now. I think washing and blocking made it look a bit more pink, and it looks less shadowy. There's less shadows on it. I know I'm looking at it and you can't also see it, sorry. This one is washed and blocked, and I think that it looks more pink. Actually, I don't know. I'll just hold it up. I think it looks more pink, and it looks less like there's shadows being cast based on the stitches that are kind of raised up. I think washing and blocking helped to floof up the yarn and to kind of make things more flat. It just made the stitches, I think it calmed it down or something. And that's why there's less shadows, and maybe the shadows are making the color look different. But I guess what I need to do, but I also just knit this last night, and so I didn't have time to wash and block it, but to wash and block this and then see if it looks the same as the first one. But yeah, it's just, it was so weird. It was very weird. But yeah, so I knit the second pocket. And then I knit quite a bit of my first sleeve. Here it is. So this pattern is knit bottom up. It is a raglan. And so the sleeve needs to be, both sleeves need to be knit first before you work on the body, and then you connect it at the raglan and do the decreases. And it is a detail about the pattern that I didn't know until cast it on. But it's fine. We'll see how it goes. It makes me a little nervous. It's hard to gauge how much yarn you're going to end up using this way because, if it's worked top down, you can always work do everything and then work the body until you run out of yarn. But for this one, you have to work it, I guess, any kind of bottom up thing, but especially this one for the sleeves too, because it's you could make the sleeve shorter or make it a short sleeve if you run out of yarn. But for this, because you have to already knit the sleeve, cuff all the way up, you can't really adjust the length. I mean, you could, but it's hard to do that because you don't know at what point you're actually going to connect the sleeves. Is it going to be down here? Is it going to be up here? but I'm just going to follow the pattern measurements for this. So I'm actually almost done with the sleeve. I just have to knit a bit more, but I finished the increases on this already. So I just need to knit straight until I reach the length. And then I did check the circumference on this. I am going to try and block. I don't want to change my needle size for this. I'm going to try and block this just a little bit. That's why I think this will be fine. I need to block it a little bit more width-wise because it is a little bit small. It is hugging my arm when I put this on a bit more than I want it to. I want it to have a little bit of ease, but I think it'll be fine. So I'm going to just keep going. But as you can see, I'm enjoying working on the sleeve. I think part of it is because it's been a while since I worked on this project, and so picking it back up in a way is feels almost like a new cast on since it's been a while, and also because like I actually had to cast on. I had to cast on and make another pocket, and then also cast on and start a sleeve. And so, yeah, nice, happy. Happy to be working with it. I'm still on my first skein of yarn, which is really nice. I have a total of 4 skeins for this. One thing I did notice that was very interesting was this is a non-superwash yarn, and I was expecting it to be a bit more rustic and maybe have more of like a structured kind of like feel to it. But now that when I made the sleeve, I was like, oh, it is actually quite floppy. It's quite floppy. And I was like, oh, it's like, and what I mean by floppy is if you've knit with alpaca before and that's really floppy, like that's what I mean by floppy. There is no alpaca in this. But it's not as structured as I thought it would be. But I like it. I like the resulting fabric. But now that I think about it, when I look at this skein and when I'm like feeling it, I'm like, oh, it does have a bit of that like floppy droopness to it, which is really interesting. It is quite nice to work with, and I like it. It's something, the droopiness of this is not something I noticed with just my pocket, and so yeah, now that I have just a longer piece of it, it's something I notice, and it's very interesting, and so I like that it's non-superwash, and yeah, I don't know, I just like it, and it was just kind of surprising to me as I was knitting on the sleeve, but a happy surprise. So yeah, also I love this color. This is gonna really be super nice as a cardigan color, and I'm very happy about it, so happy to be working on it. Again, it's still not, I think, my priority to work on it a whole bunch. Unsure if I'll get it done before the end of the year. The end of the year is coming up so soon. But I'm gonna just like keep working on it. I think. We'll see how the rest of my other projects go for this year. But I think I'm enjoying working on this sleeve right now, and I'll probably want to work on the second sleeve pretty soon after to make sure that they're as close as possible, like, because so if you don't work on the same project for a while, your tension might change a bit from the last time you worked on it, so I don't want that to happen with my sleeves, and so I'll probably kind of like, yeah, just plan on knitting the second sleeve pretty soon after finishing the first one, just so that that's kind of both the same. Anyway, yeah, so that's my Comebackigan. That's a progress on my Comebackigan. The Comebackigan has come back again. Haha, sorry, that was probably very cringe. Okay, and then I have a new cast on to share with you all. I've talked about how my Freddie pullover that I'm wearing right now is my 8th project on my Make 9, which means it was time for me to cast on my 9th project, my last project on my Make 9 for this year. And I cast it on, this is the Pressed Flowers. The pattern is just called Pressed Flowers, but it is the Pressed Flowers shawl by Amy Christoffers, and the yarn I'm using for this, and I'll hold up hold up the skeins, is Little Fiber Co. Falkland DK in the colorway Maitake, which is this really pretty brown. And I am using as a contrast color some Rambouillet hand spun that I made fiber also from Little Fiber Co. In the colorway Fungi Filigree. And so I did decide to do Fungi Filigree, which was kind of like the pairing when these were sold earlier this year together, the tonal and the multicolored. Oh my gosh, I can't think of that word right now. But they were sold together from the archives like month. Might have been February. But I did decide on that combination. If you've watched previous videos where I talked about it, that was the original idea, and then I was worried the hand spun was going to be too dark and not enough contrast, so I did more spinning of a different color, also from Little Fiber Co. But then I was like, I don't know if it quite matches the brown, so I just went back to my original plan. And then let me hold up what I have. Oh, it's so cute, and it looks really pretty on camera. So this is what I have worked on the shawls so far. I got a few of those rows of flowers in. This is actually not knit in the direction that I thought it was going to be knit in, which is hilarious. I thought it was going to be, I didn't look that closely, but I thought it was going to be, start small and then go out and out like this way as far as like the triangle. But this is worked, it is worked smaller, and then, I am increasing, but, this is, if I just took this is like the mini version of the shawl. The V is down here, and I started it right up here with the provisional cast on, and so it started off small here, and the rows are like this, and so this top part is actually the long part of the shawl, and then the V is down here. So basically, I thought that I would start off here and increase this way, but it's actually up here and it's increasing out this way for the V. Does that make sense? I was very confused on what was happening, but that's what's happening. So I worked this much, and I'm very happy with this. I was nervous, actually, again, because when I started off, the first flowers I knit were these two, and just these two, like if I hold it down here, so those are the only two you can see, I was like, oh, did I make a mistake? I could always rip back, right? But I was like, oh, it actually might be too dark and not contrast enough. But I kept going. I was like, I'm going to do a few more rows of the flowers to see how I feel, and I absolutely love it. You can definitely see the flowers. Those first ones definitely are on the darker side, but the yarn, the hand spun does get lighter, and so you can definitely see it, and it's not hard to see even all the way back here. So I'm very pleased with this color combination. I'm very happy with it. So I'm going to keep going on it, and I love it. I love working with this yarn. I will hold up what the yarn looks like just wound up. I think looking at hand spun wound up is interesting too, because you can see kind of just like the different color changes as it's going to happen. But here's the skeins. This one is Falkland DK, and I love working with this one. It's so soft and it's so plump. It's really nice, and of course Rambouillet is also soft and plump. Depends how you spin it too, but love Rambouillet as well. And I think both of them are working really nicely together. So it's going to be a nice squishy type of texture fabric for the shawl, and I'm very happy about it. This is the wrong side of the shawl. Will be interesting because you can see more of like the stripes of the hand spun, I guess. Yeah, I'm very happy with how the flowers look on this and my yarn color combination. So I'm going to keep going. I feel like I remembered I was going to say something, and then I very quickly forgot what I was going to say. This is mosaic knitting. And so you only work with one color at a time, which is really nice. And it's a combination of slipping stitches and knitting them, so you end up with like a color work type of looking thing. But I think mosaic knitting is very easy. You don't have to like catch floats or anything, so that's really nice. And I'm just, when I switch the yarn on the edge, like at the beginning of each row, I just switch them. You work them every other row, so you knit with one, forward and back, and then you switch your yarn forward and back, and then you switch forward and back. So you're not really carrying it up too much on the side, and so you can't really see it across here. But that is what I'm doing, and it's working out really nice, and I'm very happy with it. And yeah, I gotta finish this before the end of the year. Of course, if I was really tight on my deadlines for things this year, this is the one that probably would get pushed to finish into next year. But I think I can do it, because the only, I hope, the only time sensitive things I have is my Redmond hoodie, which I just need to bind off, weave in ends, wash and block, like do the finishing stuff. And so that's basically done. And then I have to do the Fleur Tee, which is going to take some time. And then it's this. And so I only have, I would say like 2 things, because one is almost done. I only have 2 things that I want to finish before the end of the year. And so I do think that this is possible to finish. This feels like I got a lot of it done, because as you know, when you work with shawls, especially ones that increase, the beginning feels like it goes by really fast, and later on it goes by really slow, just because there's a lot more stitches. But I feel like what's going to be helpful is kind of like each flower row or repeat that's going to feel like, okay, like the next milestone on it. It's not just like, oh, I'm knitting the exact same thing, just increasing all the time. So it's kind of like working stripes, you just want to get to the next one. As you can see, I need to switch to longer needles, or the cable. So I'll do that very soon, but I just got up to this past week, and I was like, I will just stop here. Easy to hold up for the podcast, and then I'll switch needles this coming week. So that was my new cast on. It's very fun to work on. And yeah. After the shawl, I think I would have done the pressed flowers cardigan, the pressed flowers socks, and then the shawl. And so I'll have 3 pressed flowers things. So I feel very comfortable looking at the pattern and the chart to work on it. And so I now know what's going on, and it's really nice. So yeah. Okay, and then so that's all my knitted things. I want to talk about my new spin this week. I wanted to start a spin, but I wanted it to be something pretty quick. And I was looking through all of my fiber. I have so much fiber. And I was like, I actually want to spin something that I've had in my stash for quite some time. And then I was like, oh, I've really been wanting to spin with my my CVM. I'm going to hold up the fiber. I got this when I got my Ladybug wheel from Northwest Yarns, and I really wanted to spin it. And so I had 4 ounces of this, and so I'm just going to do simple. I split up, I just unwound this. You can see it's like kind of thin already, and so I just unwound. So I had 2 balls of 2 ounces each, and I'm going to just do a 2-ply. So this is my second ball. This should be around 2 ounces. It is a gray CVM. And then as you can maybe tell, this is a woolen prepped fiber. You can just see all of the fiber isn't pointing like in one direction. It looks so nice and airy. Really nice, and I'm super excited. So I am long drawing this, supported long draw. And gosh, it goes by so quickly. I mean, maybe part of the reason is because the resulting yarn ends up being, it's not like I'm doing a fingering weight resulting yarn. It's probably end up more like DK weight. But it spins up so fast. So this is the first 2 ounces. I finished this last night. and it's so fluffy. I'm going to try and focus this on the camera. It's so fluffy, so soft. But yeah, this is the first 2 ounces, and so I'm halfway done spinning the singles for this. I love it. I love it. The way that the fiber is prepped makes it super easy to long draw, and so it's been very pleasant to work on, and so I'm really happy for this spin project, because I think it'll give me that kind of like quick feeling spin, and also I just love a long draw type of spin. So yeah, very happy with that. I know it's a kind of a boring color, it's just gray, but I think, in between having some multicolored fiber, hand-dyed fiber to work with, sometimes doing just like a plain color is kind of like a nice cleanser in a way, and I've had it in my stash for a couple years now, and so really wanted to spin it. I was very curious about it. This is my first time spinning CVM wool, and so I love it. I cannot wait to see how it feels when it's, once I apply it, wash and block it, and see how it is, because it's feeling really nice and just floofy, very floofy, and I'm excited for it. So yeah, so that's my spin. That's my knits. Yeah, I think, I had one more thought. I wish I wrote this in my notes, but it never happens when I think about it early in the week to write it in my notes. But okay, I have one more thing to mention about my Freddie pullover, since I am wearing it today. So this pattern is charted, and it has, it has the cable pattern, and also the differing kind of like widths of, there's twisted stitches and like some ribbing and also some slip stitches for the entire, the fronts, the back, and the sleeves. And this pattern has a lot of charts. There's a lot of charts happening, lots of like different sizes. And so if you are a beginner at reading charts and looking at just knowing how to like continue charts, and like as you're knitting kind of like in the round, being like, okay, you knit this chart and then you knit this chart, and if they're all at like different rates at like the rows, this pattern is not for the faint of heart. And so I did want to mention that because I feel like maybe I didn't mention it before. Actually, quite a bit of Emily Chen's patterns are charted. And I'm just trying to think, at least the ones I've knit with, they have actually a lot of charts. And I think it's just to make sure that each of the sizes look consistent. And so it's not all sizes reading from one chart. There's like different charts for different sizes. They're on different pages, and also kind of like combining different charts to knit the entire garment. Different, the chart repeats don't match with all of the charts as you have to knit with. And so it is something that if you haven't knit from a chart before, if you don't really know what's going on, I would not recommend to start with the pattern. But yeah, it is something I just want to mention. But yeah, it's not for the faint of heart, but with the way that I read the charts in the pattern is I usually have, especially if I have to read from multiple charts to knit just like maybe like one row or one round, I will have them open. Also, I never print my patterns. I always read them off of my computer and or my phone, depending on if I'm like, as long as I'm home, I'm reading my patterns off of my computer. And so I'll have them kind of like split screen on my computer, either side by side or top and bottom, depending on the chart and the width of it. And so if there's multiple charts, I open the PDF like multiple times and scroll to the corresponding charts that I need open and have it open like that. And so that's kind of my strategy for doing that. A lot of just like keeping track and a lot of stitch markers to know when a certain chart is, when I started that, count the rows so I know which row I'm on for each of the charts kind of thing. So that's how I kind of like organize myself to knit something that's a bit more complicated. But yeah, that is a one note about this pullover that I wanted to make sure that I talk about. If I haven't talked about it before, which I feel like maybe I haven't. So yeah, so that's the last thing. I know this kind of, I had to go back there, back to talk about the Freddie pullover, but it is something I wanted to mention and make sure I don't forget about. So yeah. Okay, so now I'm done. Now I'm done. That's all the things that I had to talk about this week. I do feel like it was kind of a lot. I did have Tuesday off, and so I think that's why I did get a lot of knitting done this week as well. But yeah, excited, happy. Things are also, I'm finishing projects, and so that gives me more time to work on some of my other projects, but also maybe not, because I'm casting on projects almost at the same rate, I think, that I'm finishing projects, so maybe not, but it kind of like keeps things rolling and going, so it's been nice. As we get closer to the end of the year, I'm feeling a bit more confident in finishing the things that I wanted to, and so I'm already trying to think about what's my make 9 for next year, and kind of like end of year things I want to do, and 2026 things that I want to plan for. So it's getting to be an exciting time, but also kind of busy. I wanted to mention, I finally put up my pegboard. There's not that much stuff on there right now, but I wanted to get a couple things up just to like feel it out and figure things out. I know it took me a very long time. Very, very long time, but it's finally up. I have some of my gauge swatches up, just because these ones I think are cute. Actually, I have a few more that are cute too. I just don't have enough hooks to display them, but I put up some of my favorite ones. Put up some of my hand spun too. Yeah, so that's been fun. Just been thinking about how more to decorate and design my room a bit. And yeah, skating's been going okay. If you're curious about that, I am, to be honest, I've been feeling a bit tired and a little bit discouraged about my skating. I feel like I'm just not getting better at the things that I feel like I've been working so long to try and get better at. In some cases, I feel like I'm getting worse at some of the skills, and so feeling a little bit down about it. So I haven't been skating at my full schedule that I usually skate at, but this past week I actually did skate my normal 4 days a week, and it felt really good. And so I'm hoping things are going to turn around and change pretty soon as far as my how I'm feeling about skating. I was feeling a little bit sad about it, but I'm feeling a bit more positive about it lately, which is really nice. And I am planning on getting new skates next week. I have a fitting scheduled for next week for some new skates. I'm planning on changing the brand as well. So we'll see. I don't know if this would be interesting at all to any of you about my skates, but maybe I'll mention it once I decide what I'm going to do, because I want to change brands, but I've never tried them before. If I try them on and I hate them, I'll just like get the same skates that I have currently, but I will talk about it more next week, in next week's video maybe, depending on how it goes. But yeah, so that's also exciting. And the reason why I'm getting new skates is because I think my current skates are breaking down a little bit. Things are feeling a bit iffy around the ankles. They're not totally broken down, but they're starting to feel a bit loose. So, and it's been about 2 years, I think, with my current skates. So might be time to get some new ones. And so I'm pretty excited about that too. But yeah. That is all I have for you for this week. I hope you all had a great week. Let me know in the comments down below what you've been working on while listening or watching the podcast. I love to know. Love to know. And yeah, I hope you all have a great upcoming week. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in next week's video. Bye!